The South African government has released a statement welcoming the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice issued in The Hague. South Africa was amongst 49 United Nations member states who delivered a statement to the International Court of Justice in February this year on the matter. The advisory opinion also concluded that the State of Israel is obligated to bring an end to its illegal occupation of the occupied Palestinian territories and to immediately cease all new settlement activities.
This is groundbreaking. There is nowhere to hide for the state of Israel, because they have always been arguing that they are acting on self-defense. This ruling clearly shows that an occupier can't act on self-defense and can't enter and occupy another person's state in violation of international law. So this ruling is very decisive, it's instructive. It is not only ending on the state of Israel in terms of its occupation, which is unlawful, but it also calls for member states of the UN to also act to end this occupation, but also to act in line with the declaration against racism and all forms of related intolerance and xenophobia, to state that it must also be condemned. They must isolate the state of Israel for continuing to perform or practice apartheid in Palestine. So this ruling is the most instructive with regards to occupation. You will remember that we made a submission in the court and we characterized the situation almost the same as our situation in South Africa, apartheid, segregation, and related intolerance. And the court has agreed with our submission that indeed what is happening in Gaza and in the West Bank is apartheid. This confirmation is a vindication of South Africa's stance, and it is against this background that people of the world must now understand why South Africa stood up, because we are moral authority when it comes to apartheid, and the people of the world helped us to fight against apartheid. This ruling also called for the people of the world to help the people of Palestine, Gaza, West Bank, to fight this enduring apartheid by the State of Israel.
Furthermore, the International Court of Justice has declared that the effects of Israel's policies and practices is sustained abuse, amounting to 1, annexation of Palestinian territory, 2, fragmentation of Palestine, 3, deprivation of Palestinian people's access to their natural resources, and 4, undermining Palestinian rights. Politics and International Relations interlocutor of the University of Johannesburg, Professor Siphamandla Zondi, joins us to deconstruct this further. Prof, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Let's perhaps start with the weight and gravity of this declarator coming out of the International Court of Justice. It is not a ruling in litigation on a matter. It is an advisory on legal opinion sought by the United Nations General Assembly. What weight does it hold?
Oh yeah, good evening and good evening to the viewers. It is a significant build-up in building up a global consensus about how to deal with the question of Israel and its response to the Gaza situation. It helps build up this consensus on a very formal and legitimate basis that says Israel is abusing its right to self-defense, and that Israel is arrogating to itself a right to dominate other people, and therefore it is in violation of the UN Charter itself. It now moves this matter, this debate we've known for a long period of time, from a matter of opinions merely to a matter of legality and verification. Now, Israel cannot ignore this and brush it aside and say it's a perception and use all manner of blackmail to stop people from discussing it. Now, this is not just an opinion, flimsy opinion. It is a considered opinion where Israel needed to make a presentation on its own. It simply just signals to Israel that you're becoming isolated. More than that, that you are becoming a state that must be considered a rogue state if you continue along this line, in the sense that you are abrogating the international regimes on which the current international system is based.
Now, there's a continued dispute and dialectic around the statehood of Palestine. This seems to be a further affirmation of the statehood of Palestine, because if you speak about Palestinian territories that are occupied, very specifically also amounting to annexation, that means that this is a state with sovereignty. And if there is a sovereign arrangement for the state, it has to be recognized as such. But many nations around the world, many of whom are still part of the United Nations as member states, don't recognize and engage with Palestine as a state. What impact does this have for the statehood conversation?
We are right. The second reason that the International Court of Justice presents relates to, for its opinion, it relates to how the actions of Israel eliminate basic existing conditions for the existence of the state of Israel. Pretty much, it simply means that Israel has a nefarious motivation for what it does. It is trying to checkmate the establishment of the state of Israel and render Palestinians permanently stateless, which is a serious violation of the UN Charter. And therefore, this signals to those in the world who really believe in the rule of law and a rule-based international system that Israel needs to be acted upon, needs to be persuaded, needs to be pushed to stop doing what is corrosive to the rule-based international system, which is to really abrogate international law at will.
What does the United Nations General Assembly have to do now following this declarator?
I think it has to note it. It's very important, and therefore formalize it. It becomes a record of international agreement. Secondly, it has to look at then what is done. One thing that can be done further from this is to put pressure on the state of Israel and keep signaling to it that it is violating international law. It's no longer an opinion, it is now an established fact. Thirdly, it is to push for ceasefire even more strongly, currently, and that ceasefire must lead to negotiations that must ultimately lead to the establishment of the state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel on the basis of peaceful neighborliness. Because without that, we will not see an end to the tragedy that ordinary people of Palestine, including children, women, and even disabled and aged people are facing, but also what the people of Israel have faced, ordinary people of Israel has faced in revenge to how the state of Israel is doing, which means the state of Israel is putting its own people in harm's way by behaving in a manner that forces people to end up with what you saw on the 7th of October. It was a response to a cruel occupation system.